I've tried so hard this season. I swear I have. I told myself after the championship game, none of it this year. Not going down that road. But here we are. I guess it's time for the annual, mandatory, obligatory, yearly. But what about Georgia's backup QB video? Uh, I was watching Dog Post earlier. Shout out to the guys at Dog Post too. I don't watch very many quote unquote professional people on YouTube. That's not really what I go to YouTube for. I go to YouTube for more low end amateurish stuff like what I do. I like to hear from fans and stuff like that. But anyway, well, it's not that I don't like to hear from professional people, but you can get that kind of stuff other places. Anyway, so I don't watch a whole lot of, like I said, quote unquote professional type people on YouTube, but I do watch the guys over at Dog Post, Dean Leggy and Ryan Curley and Matt DeBerry. If you're a Georgia fan, you probably know who they are. So shout out to them over there. But they made a video earlier today called the title of the video was "Carson Beck is the best backup QB in America." Now, forget for a second whether or not that's true or even provable at all. It's just funny to me that it just you can't get away from the whole Georgia Kirby Smart QB situation. I mean, I was the parade leader on that for years, and nobody wanted to hear it, and I just need to shut up, and you know anyway, you just can't get away from it as a Georgia fan. And now, this season, really, there's been no controversy at all in terms of who the starter should be or if the starter should be benched for the backup. There's been none of that. And that's very unusual for a Georgia season under Kirby Smart. We'll go through the history of that in a second. But there hasn't been any of that. I mean, have I been happy with the way Stetson Bennett has played every single week? No. But unlike most other years, it's just obvious that Stetson Bennett is going to start every single game this year. There's just no way anyone else is starting at quarterback until Stetson dies or runs out of eligibility. So there was just no point in talking about it. Now, when Stetson has played bad, I've pointed it out. I didn't like that he went 3 games in a row without throwing a touchdown pass. He's played terrible in the first halves of a couple of different games. But overall, I think he's played pretty good this year. So I haven't really had anything to say. Now, if you tune into my live streams when I'm watching the Georgia games, yes, when he makes a bad throw, you stomp around here like I always do. Just like I do if some Georgia defender misses a tackle or an offensive lineman jumps off sides. This in the heat of the moment kind of reaction stuff. Yeah. But I haven't made a single video this year singing the praises of any Georgia backup QBs or begging Stetson to be benched or anything like that. And it's just funny to me because nobody has. But now all of a sudden, we got to make videos about how Georgia's got the best backup quarterback in all of college football. I guess they're proclaiming Carson Beck over there at Dog Post. They're proclaiming Carson Beck as the best backup quarterback in America because he's got 4 touchdown passes. Look, Carson Beck has played great when he's been in the third and fourth quarter of 30, 40, and 50-point blowouts. It's just hard to take anything from that, to be honest. I'm not saying Carson Beck's bad. I'm not saying he's great. I'm saying I don't really know. He does have a great arm. It was nice to see him run around a little bit when he got to play the other day. And I'm confident that if something happened and we had to play Carson Beck, Georgia would probably be okay. But the best backup quarterback in all of football? There are backup quarterbacks all over the place that have a lot of wins as starters in college football. Kind of hard to say that a guy that's got no wins at all, a guy that's never even started a single game, might be better than some quarterback on another team who's on the bench now due to some transfer situations or something, but has multiple wins as a starter. I mean, lots of people come to mind. I'm not going to go through and name them. They did list off some funny stats in that video, though. I guess as part of their proof that Carson Beck might be the best backup in all of college football. Anthony Richardson, who's been the starter at quarterback for Florida all year long, I guess has only like 6 or 7 touchdown passes all year as the starter. Carson Beck's got 4. Okay. Spencer Rattler's got like 5 touchdown passes all year. Carson Beck's got 4. I mean, so yeah, some of those stats are funny, but I don't know if it proves that Carson Beck is the best backup quarterback um, in all of football. I don't know. Uh, let's go back and look at, just for old time's sake. Look, Georgia's on a bye week this week, so that's probably why they made that video. There's nothing else to talk about. I'll tug on their coattails here, but let's just take a trip down memory lane, just in Kirby Smart's brief tenure at UGA, right? So 2015 was Mark Richt's last year. The quarterback for UGA that year was Grayson Lambert. He played in 2015. Kirby got hired at the end of the season when Richt was fired. Heading into the 2016 season, the debate was, is Grayson Lambert going to remain the starter? Or, if you remember, Georgia had signed the top quarterback recruit in the country that year, Jacob Eason. Was he going to get the start as a true freshman? Well, Georgia opened up the season that year at the Georgia Dome, I believe. One of those kickoff classic games against North Carolina, and out trotted Grayson Lambert. Now, Jacob Eason played a lot in that game and got the start, I believe, the next week. It was either week 2 or 3. Jacob Eason became the starter, and that was it for Grayson Lambert. So that was 2016. Started Grayson Lambert, switched to the backup 2 or 3 weeks into the season. A true freshman backup at that. Jacob Eason. Now, you think what you want about what he did or didn't do at UGA. We all know he ended up transferring out, which we'll get to now. Following year, 2017, right? Jacob Eason gets the start. He's the returning starter from the previous year. Jacob Eason gets to start against, I believe, App State. First game of the season, third or fourth series of the game. Jacob Eason gets hurt, asked to leave the game. In trots my boy, Jack Fromm. Jake Fromm, that's right. Jake Fromm came in to save the day against, I don't remember who it was. It might not have been App State. I can't remember. But anyway, Fromm came in, and that was it. We never saw Jacob Eason again. Jacob Eason, injured. Sorry, hate it for you. Let's get you out of town on the next thing smoking. That's basically how it happened. Jacob Eason never played again. Transferred out at the end of the year. That was 2017. 2018, heading into the season. Jack Fromm is the starter. He started last year. Took us to the national title game. I don't know where. Yeah, and Stetson Bennett took us there too. But anyway, Fromm's the starter, right? Well, we signed Justin Fields in that 2018 class. Again, first, second, depending on where you looked, him or Trevor Lawrence were the 1 and 2 ranked QBs coming out of high school in the 2018 class. Trevor Lawrence enrolls at Clemson. Justin Fields enrolls at UGA, the number 1 and the number 2 ranked QB in the 2018 class. Remember that fact for a little bit later in the video. Fromm starts and continues to start, and starts some more, and keeps starting, playing worse than he played in 2017. They're putting Justin Fields into the game in what was probably the worst quarterback rotation in football history. I'll go to my grave thinking the way Georgia used Justin Fields in 2018 was borderline criminal. It was just set up to fail from the get-go. Anyway, he's never given a legitimate chance to run the offense, never mind to start a game. Fromm remained the starter, and Justin Fields then, of course, transferred out to Ohio State, where he instantly became one of the best players in all of college football, making it to the Heisman the following year or whatever it was. But so that was 2018. 2019. Fromm's last year, that was really the only year up to that point where there was no real QB controversy. There was no real backup to beg to come in. It was Jake Fromm's year, and what do you know? It ended up being his worst year of the 3 years he started at UGA. Wasn't a good year in 2019 for Fromm. He probably should have come back for a 4th year. I don't know what happened. I still think Kirby maybe told him just go to the NFL. We're going to go a different direction at QB. I don't know. But Fromm decided to leave after his junior year for no real explainable reason, and he left. Then you have 2020. Very weird year. COVID year, right? What are we going to do? We lost Fromm. Well, we had Dwan Mathis, a young QB who had yet to play. Not a 5-star, but 4-star guy. A lot of athleticism, cannon for an arm, but never really seen him play. They go out and they get Jamie Newman from the transfer portal from Wake Forest. He was going to be the savior. He was going to be the starter. Well, about a month before the season started, he decided he didn't want to play in a COVID year. I'm quitting. That left Georgia with not very many options at quarterback. DeJuan Mathis and Stetson Bennett were about it. Kirby Smart looked around and said, this no good. Went and got who? J.T. Daniels. J.T. Daniels. Now, I mentioned earlier, in the 2018 quarterback class, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields were the number 1 and the number 2 high school quarterbacks in that year's class. Guess who was the 3rd highest ranked quarterback in that same 2018 class? That's right, J.T. Daniels Christ. Go out and get him. Does he start? No. No, he doesn't start. DeJuan Mathis gets the start on the road against Arkansas in the first game of the year. Turns out, he's horrible. They put Stetson Bennett in. What a hero. He saves the day. We miraculously beat a terrible Arkansas team in 2020, and we're off to the races. Stetson Bennett continues to start, struggles, gets hurt. DeJuan Mathis goes back in. Where's J.T. Daniels? Milk carton alert. Can't get him on the field. That would be silly. He's way too highly rated. Got to leave him on the bench like we did Justin Fields and Jacob Eason. Once it became painfully obvious that neither Stetson Bennett or DeJuan Mathis were capable of completing a pass, Kirby was backed into a corner and forced to start J.T. Daniels late in the year in 2020 with 4 games remaining. I believe it was 4 games remaining in the regular season. J.T. Daniels comes in. All he does over that 4 games left in the regular season is average about 310 yards per game and go undefeated at 4-0, taking Georgia into a New Year's Six Bowl against Cincinnati, the Peach Bowl, I believe it was, where he had another 300 and something yards and won the game. 2020 ends. A little disappointing for UGA. Didn't win the East. Florida won the East that year because Stetson Bennett lost to Florida and Alabama that year. So letting Florida win the East. Didn't make the playoffs. Didn't win the SEC. Nothing like that. Did end up in a New Year's Six Bowl and ended up winning it. So 2020 comes to an end with J.T. Daniels as the set starter, undefeated as a starter at UGA, and averaging over 300 yards per game. 2021 rolls around. J.T. Daniels gets hurt heading into the Clemson game. Apparently Stetson can't be trusted, nor can Carson Beck. So you got to play an injured J.T. Daniels against Clemson. Now, we didn't know he was injured at the time. We didn't find this out until later because trying to get injury information from Kirby Smart, blood from a turnip. Georgia wins the game. A couple of cupcake games over the next couple of weeks. Better sit J.T. Daniels down. Better not let him play. J.T. Daniels last played for University of Georgia in 2021 against Vanderbilt, where he was something like 9 of 10 for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first quarter. He came out. Bennett went in. We never saw J.T. Daniels again. That was the end of him. He was gone. He was done. He basically retired from the university, was forced into retirement from the University of Georgia as the only quarterback in Georgia history to be undefeated. 5-0 or 6-0 or 7-0, whatever his overall record ended up being. Undefeated, averaged over 300 yards per game, but not better than Stetson Bennett, who then comes in, and it was the Stetson Bennett show all of last year. We know how that went. And then you have this year, which I started this video with, where there was no real controversy. Hate it, love it, or no opinion on it at all. Stetson Bennett was going to be the QB this year. No ifs, ands, or buts. Unless he gets hurt, that's just all there is to it. And I have kept my word. I have not made no videos ranting and raving about Stetson Bennett. Have I mentioned him in post-game videos? Yes. When he's played well, I've said, hey, he played well. When he's played bad, I said, hey, he played bad. But in terms of making video after video about the Georgia quarterback situation, I vowed I wouldn't do it. And guess what? I hadn't done it. And then I was perusing my subscription feed there on the YouTubes and came across my buddies over at Dog Post with the title of the video, Carson Beck is the best backup in all of college football. I had to troll a little. I went ahead and left a comment over there. I said, of course Georgia has the best backup quarterback in all of college football. Georgia's the only team in the country that puts their best quarterback every year on the bench. So, yes, most teams' best quarterback is starting. You see what they do? Most teams look at their quarterback room and they go, who's the best quarterback? That guy? Okay, he's going to start. Not Georgia. Georgia goes, who's the best quarterback we got? Him? Okay. Teach him how to be a backup. That's what we do. So, of course, Georgia's got the best backup in all of college football. Shout out to Carson Beck. It'll be the Carson Beck show next year, I reckon. I don't know. I guess we can argue all offseason between. You know what the problem is with Carson Beck? I almost feel bad. I feel bad for Carson Beck. He's not from Georgia. And Brock Vandergriff and Gunnar Stockton are. You know what that means. There's going to be a whole lot of Georgia fans who, no matter what they see with their eyes or whatever, is just going to blindly think that Gunnar Stockton and Brock Vandergriff are better than Carson Beck because they're from Georgia. They're from Georgia. And if they're from South Georgia, that's even better. Like Frome and Stetson Bennett. Anyway, shout out to the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs, your defending national champions, well on their way to a repeat. Have a great day.